There's birds somewhere down there. This is along the river where we run. It's a really ancient forest, this actually. It's I think it was like 400 or 500 years old, so there's really old trees. It's nice, just on the edge of St Austell. And then we go to Trevithick Trays for coffee and tea cake. And it's just quite nice to get out into nature, isn't it, and wake yourself up a bit on the morning. So that's the aim, really. Hopefully I'm a bit more with it then by the time I get to my studio. Bert's our little cocker spaniel. We got him a couple of years ago. We lost Rosie, our older dog, last year, so he's a bit lonely. It's nice for him to get out in the woods and try and find some of the dogs to make friends with, really. He's a lovely dog, very silly. So I'll probably stop it for a bit now while I'm running, and then see you in the cafe.
This is us dodging through the mud on our morning run. I'm waiting for her to fall over secretly, but it's not going to happen. We'll see you again in a bit in the cafe.
Morning, you right? Yes. We're here now, we've finished our run, so we're going to go and have a lovely coffee and toast. Flat whites, yes please. Flat white and toast at Trevithick Trays. Becky's in here now, waiting for me, so I'll just go in. It's lovely and cosy, and it's a nice place to just collect yourself together a bit. Gives us an excuse to have cakes and things when we've run it off. Anyway. Morning. My name's Sarah Drew. I'm a jewellery designer from St Austell. I make jewellery from lots of found materials, collecting sea glass and beach plastic from the beach, and recycled silver. Kernowcraft asked me to do a day in the life, so I'm just walking to work with you this morning. I've just been on my run with my friend Becky and our cocker spaniel Bert, so I'm just setting off. Had a shower, so I'm setting off now to my studio, which is in St Austell, which I can luckily walk to, which is a lot less hassle. So I thought I'd just show you what's along the way, and then I can show you around my studio when I get there and what I'm making today. Working on an order for Plumo at the moment in London with recycled silver pebbles, and I've got some beach plastic necklaces and things like that I'm working on. A sea glass necklace for our Terramata exhibition Tides at Penwith Gallery in St Ives. That's coming up in October, so I've got things to work on and show you and have a chat later. I'll pause it now and I'll show you when I get a bit further into town, show you some nice things that happen in St Austell. Speak to you soon, bye. Here in St Austell now. This is the main, well, the old high street really. I just want to show you some ceramic installations I've put in, because to tie in with the history of St Austell as a clay, for the clay mining industry. They put this in last year, I think, which I really like. It's nice when the kids come and have a look and try and find the trains and jump up on here. I'm not sure it's by, have a look. It's called Clay Planet Marion Brandis. There we are. It's a bit damp today. Yeah, this is another big massive ceramic sculpture called Earth Goddess. I think it's the biggest one in the world. It was a bit consternation when it first put up. Not everybody likes it, but I do. Just check who it's by, I can't remember now. You can see it's really high up. Lots of very freestyle painting on it. Sandy brown, that's it. Like Sandy's brown. I'm just going to walk on the corner now and show you the shop at Cole & Moss. They've got some tiles going on the outside. So it's looking lovely. They've got some nice, lots of nice things going on here. Oh, there's a leech installation on the corner as well. I'll show you that on the way. Hang on a sec. Just up here, they've got these tile installations by Simon Bayliss to tie in with the leech. I think these are all leech actually. Really cool, aren't they? That's my favourite, this one at the end. I'll go on the corner and show you the tiles going on the outside of Cole & Moss, which is a lovely like French style shop just around the corner from my studio actually. Yes, Cole & Moss. And these lovely tiles. Really beautiful sign writing, isn't it? They sell loads of lovely crystals and candles and lots of lovely gifts. And they have these beautiful tiles put on the outside. It looks so pretty. Like, very 1930s looking. So it's Libby that owns that, and she's here at the minute. She does a lot online, but she does a little shop in St Austell. Around the corner here is Daisy Dukes. They do a lot for homeless people in Cornwall, about free food and blankets and clothes. Been helping them quite a bit. That's them here. And just up here near the White Hart is where my studio is. That show with Karen McKendu, who's an abstract artist, and Linda, who's also an artist. There we go, that's our sign. There we go. And I'll take you in and show you around. There we go, this is my studio. It's on the second floor of this building. It's a bit of a rabbit hole, lots of stairs and steps everywhere. Just moved in here a couple of months ago, but I'm really happy with it. It's nice and warm and bright. It's a good place to work. There we are, I'll just put the light on for you. It's probably not very tidy. I might just have a quick tidy round and I'll show you the things that I'm up to, what I'm working on. But it's a nice place to work. and to design and think about things. I also teach workshops here as well. So I'll just have a little bit of a tidy around and I'll show you things in a bit more detail. Hello, I'm in my studio now. I've had a little bit of a tidy round so I can show you around. It's a bit of a rainy day, but it's nice to be in here. It's cosy and warm and brightened so I can get some work done. Good to have some dedicated space really where I can get on with work really. And it's important to have lots of space to work at, and my lad Alf helps me with jewellery making, and Neve, I've got a student that comes in and helps me as well, and so I need workspace for them too, as well as doing workshops in here. So I'll turn the camera around and I'll give you a little show around. As I said before, I'm Sarah Drew. I make recycled jewellery out of lots of found materials, based in St Austell. I've been doing it about 23 years now, so I set up in 2000, so I've been doing it quite a while and really enjoy it. I thoroughly enjoy it, so I am lucky to be able to do what I want really. This is my work table. It's an old table from my granddad actually. I've had this years, since I came back from uni really. It's about 30 years now. I'm busy making these pebblings at the minute. I've got a nice big order from Plumo in London. They've been selling those online through their website, so I'm getting these finished today. That's today's job. Alfie's been planishing those for me and I've got to solder the wires on. I've got my plants on the windowsill there. I'm getting those going before I hang them up in my macrame. And I've got my germination rings there, trying to get them germinating. Made from recycled copper pipe, and I planted them with little seeds in there, if you can see, with a bit of a patination on. And I'm trying to get the seeds to grow because they're supposed to be going to an exhibition in the Yew Tree Gallery, which is all about time for change. So I thought they'd be really good for that, but I've got to get them to sprout. So that's my view at the moment. It's not as pretty as the last one I had, but I'm still quite happy. I can watch the doves. We get white doves here, and the seagulls, of course. There they are, fighting and cooing and enjoying themselves. And I do quite like this mossy roof. I've been looking at that thinking it'd be it's quite a nice bit of inspiration for some textures and doing some growing things on some metal, I think. There's my slow cooker with my pickle in, so that's basically where I clean things off when I've soldered them. Got pebble in there in a minute. Trusty torches and my Dremel. This is a big tin full of beads. I got this out of my granddad's shed actually. It's lovely. It's like something from Lord of the Rings at the top. I'm going to show you. Very Art Nouveau. So I've had that for a while, and it's a nice place to keep all my beads. Lots of recycled bottle beads. I get these from the Africa bead shop, so they're basically recycled wine bottles, beer bottles from Ghana, and gin bottles actually. My list. Trying to be more organised, get things to do. It's my order board. So I do have to make quite an effort to be clear thinking and make sure that I tick things off. Otherwise things do get really confusing. It is quite nice to, I know it's maybe not the most eco thing to print things out, but it's quite nice to write them down and print them out because I can tick them off and then, make sure I get things done really. That's a little bit of a wall sculpture by Suzanne Barr. This is a shelf just with a few bits and bobs that I've found that I use as inspiration for textures, bones, driftwood, sculptures. I'm planning on doing some more wall panels like this and sculptures. We've got a Tides exhibition coming up with our Terra Marta art group at Penrith Gallery in October this year. So I'm going to do some more wall panels and sculptures hopefully with those. Beach plastic box, or one of the many actually, but this is one that's been sorted into colours, which is quite nice when I'm trying to find actual colours for things, if people specify colours. I need to make a sea glass pendant today. So these are some sea glass that I'm looking for. I think I need a green one, so that's the favourite at the moment. But I'm going to have a little sort through those in a minute and choose a nice piece of sea glass that I can make into a pendant that goes on a chain. I'm really lucky that people send me sea glass. I collect it myself from Pentuan Beach, which is the local beach near us. But Alison up in Port Knocky sends me down up near Inverness. She sends me down really lovely stuff. So a lot of these really nice weathered bits of sea glass come from here, and these big bits of sea plastic as well have come from up there. I think because it's maybe more of an industrial area, she maybe finds more things that have been, I don't know, that have been in the sea for longer, like a lot of old Bakelite that has been weathered really nicely. These are going to be necklaces. I'm going to rivet this one, I think, into a nice big statement necklace, and they're going to be single pendants. Silver sampling jewellery. They sent me these lovely bottle tops. So these, I've made one ring for the current exhibition out of these, but I'm going to make some more rings upside down like that. I really like that idea of a really proud piece sticking up really, so these would be good. You can drill the sea glass, but it's quite hard when it's a big piece like this, so I'm just trying to think of the best way that I can work with them so that I can really showcase them. There's another pot full of bits of driftwood and sea glass in there for me to sort through. I do a lot of my designs start with the pieces that I find or people send me, and the ideas come from there really. There's a huge piece of driftwood. a basket full of necklaces that I've planned already. More shelves with a lot of materials on. As I've just moved in, they're not too full at the moment, so it's quite organised for now. There's a sculpture at the top there, and I'm going to be making that top piece into something. I'm not 100% sure yet. And this is what I'm working on for our ties exhibition as well, a lot of crocheting. So I do like big crocheted bangles and ear cuffs and things like that, really, so that I can make art pieces of jewellery. Oh, this is my sewing box full of materials. A lot of this has come from Port Knocky, from Alison Inverness. Dark rubber pieces, quite industrial, like old switches, metal pieces, melted plastic. There's a thing I read actually recently on, I think it was in Sky or Guardian, where it was saying that plastic's becoming part of the geology now, and they're really worried about it because it's actually got to a point where it's become part of the earth. I think that's what these are, some of these. Slightly worrying, isn't it? Like here, look, so it's actually becoming part of the actual makeup of our earth now, which isn't a good thing in terms of affecting ecosystems. Massive big amount of glass. These bigger pieces are nice for necklaces, so I set these in silver sometimes and make a nice chunky silver chain to go with them, and they're nice for a statement necklace. These were all the colours that I picked out for our science fiction range based on film Dune and Star Wars. That's those kinds of slightly more muted, spacey kind of colours, and some lovely big shells in here. These are lovely as a front piece of a necklace, and I quite like putting the shells with big pearls, and chunky handmade chain again. So these are some of the big necklaces. I had these in the museum, in the Royal Cornwall Museum, for part of our strata exhibition. It's all to do with like layers of land and how rocks sit and everything. And I'm going to use those for a photo shoot on Sunday with my lad Alf and his girlfriend Izzy. We're using these pieces as well. These are based on rocks that I find up on the clay trails, the granite shapes, and I've put patination on, like on the copper, so it turns into nice colours. Some more copper there, different patination on. So hopefully that's going to work out all right. We're going to do a photo shoot up on the clay trails where I get the inspiration from, so that makes sense really, doesn't it? These are pieces that are related more to woodland. A lot of my woodland growing stuff's gone into the Jewellery exhibition, Time for Change. That's down in Morva, so I haven't got a lot of that left at the minute. And then this brighter pieces, don't look over there, that's my messy cupboard. Throw everything behind that wall where I'm trying to look a bit tidier. These brighter ones are crocheted C-string into bangles, rings, and things like beach plastic, brooches. That are like a nice, I'm quite converted to brooch actually, because it's nice, you can place them where you like on your clothes, can't you? And you've got control over how they sit really, so I think they're quite a nice way of wearing jewellery really. So we've got an exhibition at Tree Bar at the minute, which is to do with degrees, to do with climate change. We try not to get that extra 2 degrees warmer. And I made a lot of brooches for that, so that I did really enjoy that. A big crochet necklace there. Mirror, some more wall panel I'll be working on. These boards I had Paul Manzi photography, he takes really nice product photography, so I have them made up larger for when I do shows. There's my books on there, and sketchbook. I do like to have notebooks, sketchbooks. It's lovely, isn't it, to be able to have something with you when you just get an idea, to be able to write it down. Here's some orders that I'm working on, just finishing off. It's nice to sit here on my friend Becky's chair that she's lent me, and just finish off things while I'm listening to the radio, normally, or podcast. I've been listening to the Great Women's Artist podcasts, if anybody else has been listening to that. It's really interesting actually. So these are all the rings from for Plumo. I've got 60 of those, so that's about half of them I think. I need to finish those off, get them into boxes today. These are some single earrings that I've made to do with the Strata exhibition, so we're going to photos of these on Sunday. Nice to see them on somebody. You get a bit more of a sense of scale, don't you, when they're on a person's face. And a lot of big rings. So this is amethyst that I actually find on the clay trails, amethyst and aquamarine. So these are Cornish, lovely colours. So pleased when I found them. It's just like a real bit of treasure when you see them on the floor. A nice chunk of aquamarine there, and this was just a piece of rust that I've treated so it lasts a bit longer. So they're quite big statement rings, these, as you can see. Yeah, my nails are terrible, sorry, but you can see you wouldn't. It's not really an everyday kind of ring. It's a bit of a going out, showing off type piece, isn't it? This is Whitby Jet. I'm from York originally, and when we were young, we always used to go to Whitby. It was our day out in my granddad's larder, driving over the moors. And we used to love, mum and auntie used to love Whitby Jet, and they used to buy it birthdays and things. And I like the fact that this is in its quite raw form. I've worked on it a little bit and softened the edges a little bit, but I've just kept it quite natural and riveted it to a zero waste silver ring, which is fused silver. I don't know if you can see that very well, but this is lovely. Bold opal. Oh, I can't get in the light. Bold opal from Australia. See those little flashes of colour in. Love these, and I love them quite natural like this. I don't think when they're too precisely cut or too shiny, I find them a little bit not quite as interesting really. I like to see the sandstone behind it because it reminds me of being in Australia in the desert and with all those red rocks around you. When I say zero waste ring, what I do is when I've cut all these up, when I'm cutting the pebbles out like this, there's a lot of leftover because they're not very regular shapes. I've fused the silver down, and these are oxidised as well, so they're quite random sort of shapes you get from it. But I really like the textures you get and how it's a bit unpredictable. Again, it's kind of letting the materials rule what the design ends up like, really. Going with the flow, literally, because the silver starts to flow and melt, and it's almost like drawing with your flame and pushing it into place. There's a boiled opal. There's a name for this, I can't remember what it's called now. It's like when you can see the river of opal through the sandstone. This is zero waste again, so this is the pieces of silver fused together in quite a random way and made into a nice U-shaped ring. So I enjoy making these. There's another opal. You can see there's a little flash of blue in there. They're really cool, aren't they? They're my favourite stones, opals, really. I do really think they're magical. I do get, sometimes I get them quite raw, the opals, and I'll sand them and this is a grinder with a sander, and I'll finish them off on here. This is a polisher, so this enables me to work. It's a bit bigger and more powerful than just my little Dremel polisher, so I can get more done. My very old enamelling kiln and my rolling mill for flattening out the silver. This is Alfie and Neve's place to work when they come to help me out. Or if I do workshops, I can get 2 people here soldering. So I'll get like three soldering stations, which is good. There's some of my photos there. That's my opal ring that I kept for myself. That's Karen McKendou's abstract painting that she gave me. I was really pleased with that. She's upstairs. She's my studio neighbour, so she's got a studio on the top floor. So when we worked together on Terra Marta Art, me and Karen set that up a couple of years ago, where we were basically a group of women artists and makers exhibiting in places like Treminier and Penrith Gallery, Royal Cornwall Museum and Tree Bar. So yeah, really nice places, really nice venues, and it's just a good chance to make ourselves make fresh work and work together and collaborate, really. There's some bits and bobs on there, things that I like collecting, other makers. There's a Julia Quimmen jar on there, which is very useful for keeping odds and ends of beach plastic and sea glass in. Driftwood and clay bird there, that's Ruth's. Pot I got from Bobby last year. I made these handles on me drawer with crochet seed string. Mainly the most of the studio now I've shown you around. I'm going to crack on with making that sea glass pendant and soldering the wires onto these pebble earrings, probably planching some of them as well. So I might just film those processes so you've got an idea of what I do during the day. It's quite varied, it's quite a varied work day, but that makes it more interesting, really. And I think it's quite nice if you're not doing the same thing over and over and over again. I think it's quite nice if you can basically enjoy having varied tasks, and it stops things getting boring, really. Okay, so I'll just pause it a minute and get these things set up, and then I'll show you what I'm going to be working on. I've got my what do you call them? Headphones, earphones, noise cancelling things on. I can't remember what we call them. I'm going to start to hammer the pebbles. So I use the little ball hammer here, to put some nice planished. So these are some that Alf's done here. These have already been planished, and these are some that we've cut out and sanded around the edge. And then I'm going to planish these just to get some nice texture on. So basically I just have to hold it in place with my finger, and it's just a case of tap all over it, softening the edges. To get that nice texture on it. Oh, that one went crackers. Hold tighter than me. You know why? I just put some hand cream on my hands, so I'm feeling a bit sore. So my fingers are a bit slippery now, which is a bit daft. There you go, and just turn it over so you can flatten it out a little bit. And then you've got a nice textured piece of silver that I can make into earrings. I'm going to do all these, and then I'll show you how I solder the wires on. Just going to solder these wires onto the back of the pebbles. I'm using liquid flux, which is in this pot here. It's the same as borax, but just the liquid version. Just a little blob on the top of each pebble like that. Then I've already cut out some lengths of 0.8 mil silver wire. Not that long, but about 4 or 5 centimetres I think these are. Don't want to waste the wire when I bend them over. I don't want them to be dangling down too long. These are quite everyday earrings, really, to be honest with you. So I don't want it to be too long. I'm just going to try and place it at the top of the pebble, like that. I don't want it to be too far down. That's it, just near the top. And the silver wire has to be touching the silver sheet, the pebble, otherwise it won't stick. I've got my brush again, and then I'm going to pick up just a little tiny piece of silver solder. I'm going to place it right next to the wire, like that. And that's just, you need one piece really, just so these can stick together. I've got a wire on the back to put in your ear. So I'm kind of doing this in a batch because I've got quite a lot to, I've got 40 pairs to do. So I've got them all lined up and I'm going to do them in one go. They're all ready now. Sorry, my chair's squeaking. Try not to move around too much. I use just this little torch. It's really nice and convenient. Switch it on. Show these out the way so you can see. Probably not too hot, just turn it down a little bit. I'm going to warm it up from a little bit of a distance so I don't knock my solder off. And go backwards, forwards. Concentrate on the pebble a little bit more than the wire because I don't want to melt the wire. I think that solder's gone up the pebble now. I don't know if oh no, that one's worked. Did you see? I don't know if you can see, but when it goes liquid, it's definitely stuck together then. So just concentrate a bit more on the pebble than the wire. It's melted now. I'm just going to go a bit longer just to check that it's stuck together. Just move along this row really, backwards and forwards. It's quite relaxed. Once you've got it all set out like this, it's quite relaxing actually. It's quite a nice job. That one's melted. So I'm just kind of moving the torch around a bit, and the tip of the blue flame's the hottest part, so that makes it more effective, doesn't it? Backwards, forwards, just concentrate on the pebble a bit longer. Check that it's gone. Yeah, that's melted. It has to go liquid to have stuck the two together. So if it still looks like a little bit of a rectangle, it hasn't worked. Just got to keep going. Is that one? A bit more, I think. Yeah, there we are. It's done that. I'll just go along this top row. And then I basically cool them down and just hammer where the join is a little bit to flatten it out. It's just a quicker way of neatening it up really. Oh, I can knock that solder off that one. No, sorry, I'm not concentrating. Those two, I'll have to just put the solder back on in a minute. You have to warm it up a bit before you go in for the main heating really, so it doesn't go flying off, otherwise it gets a bit of a shock and goes flying off. There we are, that one's done. Cool, turn off my torch and then I can just put them in the water. They're not ready, and cool them down straight away. Very satisfying sound, isn't it? And then I can just hammer the backs to neaten that off. I won't show you that because I'll be too noisy. Soldered most of the silver pebbles now, so I'm going to set this piece of sea glass in some silver bezel strip, ready to make a pendant for a customer, an online customer who's ordered it through our website. This is really nice malleable silver strip that's just right for going around glass like that, so it can make a really good setting. Can you see what I'm doing if I just try to put my hands in the way? Basically I'm going to wrap this snugly around the piece of sea glass because they're all random shapes, so you have to make each setting individually and squeeze it to overlap. So you want it to overlap by a couple of millimetres really. I'm going to snip that bit off, just flatten it down a bit with my pliers, and I'm going to just try it again, check it's right. Put that there, you can see better, can't you? So you can just check it's right. I think that's, so it should be a couple of millimetres overlapping for the settings. So I'll solder that closed. That's fine. So I've remembered how much of an overlap it is. It's about 3 mil. And I'm going to solder that. Can you see all right? If I do it on the corner yet? I'm just going to make sure that they're touching, that the both sides are touching, so that it sticks together. So I'm just trying to get a bit of tension there. So be a bit careful when you solder it, because it's such thin silver that you can melt it quite easily. I'm just going to get a bit of my liquid flux again, paint it on the front and the back of the join, wet the brush so I can pick up a couple of bits of solder. Go, a couple on the inside. I think the 2 little pieces should be right. This is medium silver solder. I might just put one on the outside just to be safe. The only thing is that does make it a little bit more messy. If you're doing a neat setting, it might tend to look a bit textured anyway. And then I'm just going to put my torch on medium, not too hot. I don't want to melt this bezel, so it's just a medium flame. Try not to knock the solder off like I nearly did. I have done. That's annoying. It's because I'm not concentrating. I have to try and concentrate and do it. There we go. So backwards and forwards, the tip of the blue flame, warming up the whole shape of the bezel. Like that, backwards forwards, till it melts, till both melt, and hopefully they'll have stuck that joint together. So a nice secure joint. I think that's okay. I'm just going to check that. Turn your torch off, just cool it down. Yep, that's fine. There's no movement, so that's fine. I'm just going to double check that the shape's okay for my glass. Cool, that's great. So now I know that when I put this onto my onto the base, that'll fit okay if I make a setting. It's basically like making a sea glass setting. You're making a cup, a bespoke cup shape to put the glass into. So I've got some 0.7mm silver here. I'm going to just draw around the shape quite roughly with a biro, because it's got this blue covering on that you can draw onto. Leaving a couple of millimetres just to allow me to be able to solder it on without being stressed about getting it neatly. Like that. Cut out this piece with my tin snips. Hope you can see this alright. I'm not quite sure if I'm obscuring it or not. So a really rough cut, it doesn't really matter as long as it's big enough for that silver setting to sit on. I'm going to take this off, and then I'm going to solder that bezel onto here. I'm going to have to just tap this out, so it's going to be a bit loud a minute. I'm going to solder this on here now. The flux around the edge and on the base of the bezel, like that. You don't want any holes when you're doing this. You need to put it in position, then press it down gently so you're not wrecking your shape, but just so that most of that bottom of that bezel is touching the silver base. Then this is a bit fiddly, but you just have to do it really. You get lots of these little pieces of silver solder, and just at maybe 2-3mm gap, well maybe 3-4mm spacings, put them around the edge of the setting where it meets the silver sheet on the bottom, because that's what's going to stick the bezel, which is the outside shape, to the silver sheet, which is the base of your setting. Okay, so I'm just going around doing that now. I've got some little pieces already cut here. It's quite good to do that because then you've got them ready and you don't have to keep stopping and starting, which can get a bit annoying. And there, like that. I do workshops to do this. They're quite popular actually, because you can make a ring or a pendant. It is a bit fiddly, but it's kind of worth doing properly, because it's really important that you get that good seal, because once you start putting the glass or stone in, you're putting pressure on it and you don't want it to pop open and have any holes. So it's good to make sure it's really secure. This. Oh, sorry about my squeaky chair. I wasn't aware of it till today. So I've got lots of little silver pieces around there. I'm going to get that to stick on now. Put it back up here a minute. I'm going to warm it up from a distance so I don't knock all this solder out of place. So this is just like vague warming. And then I'm going to go in to the middle with the tip of the blue flame. I've got this one quite full actually now, because I want a bit of, it's quite a big setting, so it does take quite a lot of warming up. Just be careful on your outside of your bezel, because you can melt that quite easily, so you want to kind of aim the torch more at the base rather than the bezel. So I'm warming up the base silver more than the outside. It's starting to melt now. I'm just getting my pliers, because sometimes I have to press it down if it starts to lift up, if it's quite a big piece like this. Can you see, I don't know if you can see that the silver's running around, like around the bottom in a liquid to stick it together. I'm just going to help that bit over there, as it's lifted up a bit, so a bit of a hole. Just tap it down a bit. That's it, I think it's gone. Cool, so you can see how it's run all the way around the edge and it's done like a silver line around the base. That should mean it's sealed nicely now. I'll just let that cool down a sec. And we'll cool it down and double check for any holes. Okay. Yep, should be fine. I think that's fine. One way you can check it is if you hold it up to light, or up to the windowsill. It's a bit hard to show you, but if there's any natural light you see coming through, then you know there's a hole in it. Next thing to do is clean this off, or you don't have to clean it off, you can just cut around this base, around the edge, and then that's your setting made and ready to attach to a necklace or a ring shank. So I'm going to cut around the edge. I like to cut right up to the edge, but you can leave a border. Sometimes people leave a border as a decorative thing. It actually makes it a bit easier as well if you leave a border, because it's you don't have to worry about getting close. If you can, get really nice and low when you're cutting so you're not going to hurt your back. And I'm just going to work my way around this. Hope you can see all right. I put a bit of beeswax on my blade to make it easier. A good way to be able to cut things out easily is to try and be chilled. It's not always easy, but if you can just try and relax your shoulders, not get stressed, hold it firmly, but don't rush. If you try and rush, you tend to break more blades, which isn't the end of the world, but it's just a pain. You have to keep changing them. So I think when you're learning to cut out, you will get through quite a lot of blades, so don't feel like you're rubbish at it if that's the case. It's just a case of getting used to what kind of pressure you can apply. I'm going really quite close here to the setting. I'm using my bench peg to help support it. Nearly round. Just get that one in the corner. Not far enough now, just on this edge and then done. Because I'm trying to keep my business as sustainable as possible, I keep all these offcuts and fuse them into rings, earrings, pendants. And it's really nice because they're a bit random, you don't quite know how they're going to turn out, but you have like a lovely natural form. So I'll keep that, put that into my scrap bowl, which you see. And that's the setting cut out now. I'll just sand that down, and then I'll probably put a little bit of tube on the back so I can thread a chain in the back. But yeah, it's quite straightforward. You just have to take your time and not get stressed, I think, when you're doing the settings. Hello, I'm not sure if it's a bit easy to show you this way around the finished bezel setting. So that's for the sea glass. I would just sand those edges now just to smooth them off, and then put something on. If I was going to make a ring, I'd put a shank on the back. Just solder that on, or I'll solder some tube, little hooks, so I can put chain through the back. And then once everything's done and everything's ready, putting the glass in is the very last process that you do, and I push it over. I've got a little stone setting tool, I think it's called, and it's just like it rubs over the edge of the silver just to make it nice and soft and comfortable to wear. I think I've finished for today now. I've kind of got most things finished. I've just got to hammer these earrings. So I did all the pebble earrings, but I need to hammer those backs and clean them up and put them in a tumbler. Hopefully they'll be ready to post tomorrow, get them sent out. But yeah, it's been quite a productive day. It's been nice sharing things with you. I'm going to go home now and cook dal for tea, and it's my lad's parents' evening, so I've got to hear about how he's doing at college. Hopefully all right, he's doing all right. I think he's doing well. So yes, thank you for sharing this day with me. If you would like to subscribe to Kernowcraft YouTube channel, I think you can. I think there's a button below, you can do that. My website is sarahDrew.com, and I'm Sarah Drew Jewellery on Instagram. So it'd be lovely to say hello. Come and visit me on there, and let me know if you're interested in doing any workshops, if you want to have a go, or if you want to come and see me in St Austell. I'm at the studio, so you can come in and pop in and see me now. Okay, well, thank you for joining me today, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye bye.